My name is Rebecca Selman and I've been a member of the congregation of Liverpool Parish Church for the last 18 months since I first arrived in Liverpool. I'm an avid reader and a keen cook, and I'm really interested in the way that food is presented in literature. In the Gospels, Jesus is presented as eating with people, and this includes the events of the Easter story. On the road to Emmaus and at the barbecue on the beach, Jesus demonstrates his humanity through his need for food and his fellowship through eating that food with other people. And of course, food plays a central role in the Christian liturgy at the Eucharist. I want to share a few thoughts with you about the way food is used in a novella. It's actually not much more than a short story, called Babette's Feast by the Danish writer Isaac Dinesen, who's also known as Karen Blixen. Babette's Feast, which was published in 1958, is set in a small Norwegian town in the late 19th century. Two unmarried sisters, Martine and Philippa, live with their French cook Babette, who arrived on their doorstep 12 years before the events of the story. Martine and Philippa are the daughters of a clergyman, who's now dead, referred to as the Dean. They belong to a strict Protestant sect, where the emphasis is on simplicity and purity, renouncing the pleasures of this life in anticipation of the glory of the next. The sisters only allow Babette to be their cook on the understanding that she cooks food for them that is as plain as possible, so no French delicacies like frog's legs are allowed. When the story opens, the sisters are planning a small, understated celebration of what would have been their father's 100th birthday. The church community is now not in a good way. It's riven by division and discord, which the sisters have not been able to resolve. Out of the blue, Babette announces that she has won 10,000 francs on the French lottery, which a friend has been renewing for her in her absence. She asked the sisters to allow her to use that money to cook a special dinner for the Dean's centenary. She wanted, she said, to cook a French dinner, a real French dinner for this one time. Now the sisters agree, but not without some reservations. And their reservations are confirmed when, in a few days' time, a delivery of wine arrives, to their horror, followed shortly by a delivery of a live turtle. But the sisters are people of their word, so they cannot deny Babette her wish. So instead they go and visit the community who've been invited to the dinner and share their anxieties with them. And they all come to an agreement. Nothing that might be set before them, be it even frogs or snails, should wring a word from them. So, the day of the meal arrives, and in fact, the author writes very little about the actual details of the meal, because what is important is not what is eaten, but the effect that the meal has on the community. Usually in this community, meals are taken in silence. But somehow this evening, tongues had been loosened. Memories of the Dean are shared, divisions are healed, and resentments put aside. However much the diners eat, they don't feel heavy. In fact, they grow lighter in weight and lighter of heart the more they ate and drank. A guest at the meal, the one outsider to the community, reflects until this moment he had thought of grace, divine grace that is, as something that was finite, but his eyes are opened. He realises that grace is infinite. As he tells the diners, "Grace, my friends, demands nothing from us, but that we shall await it with confidence and acknowledge it in gratitude. Grace makes no conditions and singles out none of us in particular. Grace takes us all to its bosom and proclaims general amnesty." Whilst the meal is pretty amazing in culinary terms, it transpires that Babette has been hiding a great secret. What's important is the transformation that it brings about in both the individuals and the community. It gives them a foretaste of what is to come. They had been given 1 hour of the millennium, a literary equivalent, you could argue, of the Christian experience of the Eucharist.